Oh. It says recording in progress. I don't know what this means. I want to continue. Okay. I'll call the meeting. It is 10:16.
She doesn't recognize.
I'm sorry? Okay. We'll open the meeting at 10:16. Madam Secretary, do we have a quorum?
We do.
Okay. And I have the next thing on here, is review the current agenda. It doesn't look like much, but we have a lot to get to, especially down by the end. So I'm going to move this along. And so here we go. Did everybody get the minutes and get to read them?
Yes.
Yes, I have.
Are there any objections, corrections? Okay.
I move to accept the minutes.
I'm sorry.
We move to accept the minutes.
Second.
I say,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Okay, so moved. Now the treasurer's report, Elaine.
All righty. So total expense in the general fund, it was 34,813, which is, we're within our budget. It's higher than we were at the beginning of the fiscal year, the first 2 months, as well as what was reported last year for the first quarter. And that increase reflects the 3 pay periods that we paid in the month of September, as well as the increase in van driver expense for this current fiscal year, as we were expecting. Formula grant expenditures continue to be Nettie's payroll. They were a little over $1,000 in September. And I think Nancy will probably address this later, but in October, and you'll see it next month's report, we did receive an additional grant. And I'll let Nancy update us on that. You wanted to do it this month. Revolving fund, as of September 30th, our total expenses exceeded receipts by $2,676. The balance in the revolving fund is $20,670 as of September 30th. During the first quarter, we discussed this last month, of 22, all food expenses were charged to the revolving fund rather than the congregate meals expense line item in the general fund, per request of Don Piat, the town accountant. So Richard did a great analysis of food costs and the related expenses for each of those programs, each food activity that we had during the quarter. And the net, just to see where we ended up, the net difference was that we expended approximately $184 more than funds were received to provide those meals. So we're basically at a break even within the revolving fund for that activity. I think we've concluded at this time, we're not going to make any adjustment to transfer it over. Other quarters might prove out differently, but we'll continue to monitor that expense versus receipts throughout the year and see where it's going. That analysis showed that the total expenditures on foods was about a little over $1,700. So thinking that through, what happened a year ago, we didn't, up until this quarter, we never recorded those expenses to the revolving fund. That $1,700 therefore is contributing to the $2,600 loss. That's why we're having a loss this year as opposed to prior years. Having done that review, Nancy, the rest of us, we discussed it and we said, well, let's take a look at the other programs. So we're hoping to get more analysis on exercise, yoga, all that exercise activity compared with receipts versus expenses, as well as the meals and other type of activities that are running through the revolving fund to see how we're netting out. So we'll be reporting on that in the future. Within the gift funds, we received $1,851 in September. That's primarily social worker money, to fund that. We expended social worker payroll of $2,500, and I think it was the bench, Joe Fagan's bench of $613. at the bocce court. So we have a total gift fund balance of $52,909, of which approximately $33,000 is unrestricted. Last month, I mentioned that the carryover balances from fiscal year 21 hadn't been reflected in the town reports. They are now reflected, and they are as we expected. And that's it. Any questions, comments?
Thank you very much.
Okay.
We accept the treasurer's report.
So move.
Here's second.
Okay, good.
All in
Thanks.
favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Nancy, I believe you're on. Director's report.
Okay, great, thanks. So I Richie sent them off, the director's report, so you guys would have it in front of you. He sent last month's and this month's as well. So just wanted to mention to everyone that if you haven't noticed already, once again, indoor dining was approved by the Board of Health. As long as we keep tables socially distanced at 6 feet apart and no more than 5 to a table, she is allowing us to have Wilcott Commons lunches. So that's good news. We're moving forward with that, and it means that we can continue with feeding folks throughout the winter, which is always important. The other thing I wanted to mention is that a couple months ago, Stop and Shop had kindly made us a recipient of their Blooming for Good, their program for the flowers, and we did raise $107 for Cohasset Cares. So, Cohasset Elder Affairs. So that donation we're going to use towards a future event, grab and go, most likely. So that's great to have that additional funding. And as Elaine had mentioned, we did purchase from the gift fund $613 in memory of Joe Fagan. That was all the proceeds from donations that were made in his name to Elder Affairs. So that was really nice. And then Social Service League also provided us a bench, and that just came. So we have the one bench out there, and ours is expected to come this week. So we will have 3 benches out there, which will really be great, because that bocce is really picking up. It's great to see the players and everybody. So they need a place to sit down. They need a place to relax. And if they get any spectators, there will be space for them as well. So I think it's going to be a really fun environment. It already is. So starting again in the spring is going to be terrific. They expect to play for another couple of weeks as long as the weather is good. So all is good on that front. Wanted to mention, I think I had already mentioned last month, but October 27th, we're having a chili lunch provided through the Wellspring food truck. So that's hopefully going to be on a quarterly basis. Again, the dates we don't have yet, but it's going to be great to have that food truck here. And it's just going to be good for them and for us, and free to all the seniors who come. And I think it's going to be a lot like our the grab and go lunches. People just grab them. They can either sit here if it's a nice day, or they just take it and eat it at their convenience at home. And the last thing I wanted to mention is Social Elder Services is administering a food insecurity program, and that is from Executive Office of Elder Affairs, which came to us. So we had an installment now. We're going to get 7 installments between April 1st of 2021 through March 31st of, April 1st through September 30th of 2024. It's $10,000 in the full grant, but we just received the first 2 installments. So we got a check for $2,857. And we will be putting that money towards additional food, either grab and goes or lunches. We haven't quite decided how we're going to do it. It is pretty much at what the Elder Affairs feels is important to provide to the seniors. So it's really kind of letting it out there. Don Piat had a few questions. So until he says it's a go ahead and he trusts that we can really use it on anything, we'll be happily depositing and spending that money. So we've got some good ideas in mind to spend that money, a little thinking outside of the box, maybe some fun programs, or having a chef here to maybe make some meals that people can take home, cooking for one type of programs, that sort of thing. Open to ideas. If you guys have any ideas, have any thoughts like that we could spend that money on, that is not our typical, it's just having just an extra amount of money that we normally wouldn't look at. So I wanted to do some fun things with it. And I think that was everything. Oh, I did want to let you guys know that we had 278 individuals. We came over 850 times the participants, as mentioned before. It seems like once they come here and see what we have, they come for one thing and then they see that there's other stuff that interests them. So we have a lot of duplicate participants. And as far as the transportation, we had 38 individuals who went on 184 rides last month. So things are picking up over there just a little bit as well.
Nancy, I have a question.
Sure thing.
It's related to food. I've had at least 3 or 4 requests to bring back the suppers in the evening, the family suppers in the evening. Is that going to happen anytime soon?
So a lot of that depended on the schools and
Yeah.
the students. And so we have not reached out to them. They have definitely not reached out to us, but because of the way the schools, the concern we had with the schools starting back up again, we wanted to really get them feeling good about what they're doing over there before we ask them to help us out again. So we certainly will revisit that because they were so popular. But at this time, we have not connected with them to see if it's even a possibility on their end. But we will.
Why are those dinners dependent on the schools?
Because it was the school volunteers, the students. It was supposed to be an intergenerational program. So the students were supposed to, certainly you guys as the chefs. So we could always do it. It's just we wouldn't have, the students were the ones that we were trying to get so that they could sit down and engage with the community who came. They're the ones who are going to help us, set up and.
I'm familiar with the way the kids participated in that, but I wouldn't like to see that their absence preclude the possibility of it still happening. If they can't participate, I don't think that should prevent us from doing it.
Well, no, I just haven't reached out to the schools, but if they say no, we can still continue with it. But that was because I wanted it to be an intergenerational program. I was hoping that they would come on board. But like you said, if they decide not to do it, it doesn't mean that we can't do it. We'll just do it not as an intergenerational program.
Yeah, because those dinners were really popular, and I think right now more than ever they're probably needed.
You're right.
Right. I agree with you, Jim. I think everyone was maybe waiting for school to start and have a little bump in pandemic numbers, and we've not seen that happen, gratefully. Right. And so therefore, I think you're right. The time is right for us to maybe go forward.
I think the people who have spoken to me about it, when are they coming? When are they? And I've been assuring them they're coming back. I just don't know when. Are people who are widows, and they like to have somebody to have dinner with, to have a meal with, and really, really love those. So, and that is, of course, mostly our senior population. So that being said, thank you for being on top of it. And we look forward to that.
Okay.
Do you have anything?
I have a question.
Would that dinner have to be, if it's going to be a recurring event, would have to be the Board of Health approve it?
Well, as long, again, all they said to us, they don't have to approve it as long as we're following their guidelines, which is socially distancing the tables, no more than 5 to a table. But we'll go ahead and do that now that we can meet indoors again. So,
okay,
I
great.
think it would be interesting. I have one more data point I'd like to know is how many kids are vaccinated. They conducted a survey of all levels of elementary school kids, K through 12, and it was due last Tuesday. And I don't know, I have zero idea how many of those high school students are vaccinated. We might want to know that before they serve us dinner.
I think that's a really good point. I think what we should say is if they do agree to do it again with us, that only vaccinated students can participate. I mean, certainly that would be a part of that.
And let me email the school nurse and find out if she has any preliminary data or straw poll of how many parents responded to her.
Okay.
But right now, the vaccine was 16 and older, right?
No, 12.
12 to 16.
It's 12.
12 and older. And that
So,
should change.
All
into
vaccines were 12 and older, or just J&J?
Pfizer, just Pfizer. Just Pfizer was 12 and older, and all my friends vaccinated. But if you only talk to, you don't. That's a small population.
Yeah, I know it was 16 and older for all 3 vaccines.
Correct. But that
So-
as a parent, I'll take whatever they gave me. I was there the first day for my children.
Yeah, I'm just saying some people may not. I didn't have the option what I got. I just showed up and got whatever they had. So if you're looking for people between 12 and 16, you may not be able to get that population. That's all.
I'll reach out to the nurse and just see if she has numbers and see what they say.
And for the intergenerational program, though, for community suppers, it was kids older than 16 because they were in like the National Honor Society and those students. So,
Okay.
Good.
And that's it for me, unless you guys have any more questions for me.
Nancy, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Kathy.
Can you hear Taffy?
Okay, yeah, I have a question about the funding for the all food trucks. They said, how does that get funded if we're not paying anything?
Wellspring funds it with whatever donations they receive for their own agency.
Not related in any way to that food insecurity grant.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know how, what kind of money that they're using, whether it's for their regular operating costs or what, but we certainly asked that question, whether or not they would need some donation from us or money to charge. And they said, no, it's completely part of what they want to do for the outreach to the community. They're not only doing it here in Cohasset, but they're doing it in Weymouth and other communities, and they're not charging any of them.
Oh, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Is there any new business, Nancy? Or
No, that's
You covered it all. Okay. I just wanted to tell you that I had we had a social service league meeting last week, I believe it is, and they have agreed that in conjunction with the Rec Commission here in Cohasset to fund the pickleball courts. So now it has a way to go.
On what?
The Recreation Commission is going to go to, oh, I see Nancy, Gesundheit, Nancy. It's my understanding that Recreation Commission is going to look to CPC for their part of the funding, for the town part of the funding, and Social Service League will fund the other half. They did get an estimate for it, but I'm not going to get into the weeds with those kinds of things. But it will be stipulated that half the time or certain hours will be reserved for seniors, because that's how they work. And so they're going to try and work that out. It is going to be, it's very exciting. The whole board was very excited about doing this. And so I look forward to something happening within the next year and getting I think it's one court, set up and moving and having the seniors out there. So that's my big news.
What court is this, Tana?
It's going to be a pickleboard. Yeah,
Oh, pickleball.
pickleball.
Talking about pickleball. Where?
Well, it's going to be on the property. I don't have a picture. The swim club has a piece of land in the back that's pretty much adjacent to our piece. That's big enough, meets the criteria, and that's what they have their eye on for putting it in. And this is all with the cooperation of the swim club, of course. So that is something that it's on the QT right now, sort of, and
Not anymore.
well, don't tell everybody to get their saddles,
Wait a minute now.
all polished up. But that is something in the offing that we have been thinking about for a couple of years, and that I think will get the younger group of seniors and some older. I mean, I have friends who do that. This one
Don't
doesn't.
get ageist.
So that I thought was pretty exciting that they would do that.
I think that's a great idea. It's very popular.
It not only is it popular, there's a big population that goes there, and the younger mothers and Grammys who go up to the pool area and everything in the summer. So we'll see how the specifics work out. So, first of all, the money, it has to come from CPC, I guess, and then Social Service League will be generous once again to our folks, and hopefully we'll be able to get that going.
So the courts will be up by the pool, so you would have to access it from Main Street, right?
From the Main Street, yeah.
Okay.
Then you walk up the stairs.
Probably where they have the boats now stored. I think
Yeah,
that's.
probably, yeah. So,
So this is cool. The Milliken has, of course, tennis courts, right? 5 or 6.
Right.
But I just became a pickleball player.
oh,
and,
good.
This is my new thing. I learned that the net is shorter, and even though they painted the lines on Milliken nicely, the net is too tall. So this will be appreciated, I think, by the pickleball people who I don't know yet, but I will.
Lots of new friends, I understand. So I'll keep Eleanor and I can keep you posted on
This is very exciting.
that happening. Okay, and now I want to say I'm sorry about the delay in being able to meet in person. I'm very frustrated by it. And it just seems that I'll let Nancy explain her conversation. And then I'd like some input is there anything you want the board to do? So Nancy, would you tell them about what happened with the owl and what?
Yes, so we did purchase an owl, which is a hybrid way to have meetings. So the way the owl works, we've been trying it with our men's group, and it works really well, where you can be in a meeting in person, and then you also have on Zoom. Anybody who can't come to the meeting can be on Zoom. We tried it out. The men's group has tried it a few times. The library has had a few groups who have tried it, and it seems to work really well, and you can record on it. And as from my understanding, that's what the town was really worried about, is it needed to be.
I don't know, I'm going where you told me. No, but you should have gone left right there.
So we had to be in.
You should have told me. I knew where we were.
Kathy and Jeff.
We had, so we had to make sure that we could record all of our meetings. So I brought it up to Chris Senior last week, and he was a little bit hesitant because he's not really familiar with this, and he's not sure how it's going to work. So we're going to have to, Megan and I were going to demonstrate for him the way it works, and then he'll have to decide. But he said that as of December, all of the meetings. I believe that the governor's order is going to be lifted in December, and he was more leaning towards everybody's going to be in person after December. So unless we really showed him something that he didn't know about these hybrid meetings, he really was not that interested in it. I believe this November will be the first school meeting, or the board of select board meeting is going to be hybrid. So we'll see from that if he thinks that works out good. Perhaps he'll let us do it in November or December. But at this point, he said that until he knows a little bit more about this owl and how it works, he wouldn't even consider it.
I guess my frustration is that knowing this happened a year and a half ago, that this has happened, we've had nobody from town hall attend one of our meetings, if I'm correct. I don't believe anybody's thought to come down, particularly Chris Senior. And they've had a year and a half to look into these kinds of things, and all of a sudden they don't know what it's about, or they need to know more and all this kind of stuff. I just feel as though the our group is being shunted off to the side. That's the only way.
I don't think it's our group in particular. It's any of the groups. He's not letting any town open meetings be performed other than on Zoom. So they're not singling us out in any way.
Well, to me, that they didn't even want to look into the owl. It leaves a bad taste in my mouth, and that's just my personal opinion. Will the rest of you comment and tell me to pipe down if you don't feel that way? Come on.
I think the town should invest in it to begin with, because well before COVID, probably about 5 years ago at least, they had a problem with some of the selectmen attending critical meetings. So they had to write a special rule to let them phone in and be able to vote by telephone. It had to be approved prior to your call. You couldn't just call in at the last minute. It had to be pre-scheduled for you to call. So I think this would be a perfect product for that replacement of that. And it's always there. If somebody can't physically be there for a meeting, at least they can attend. So I would be in favor of the town getting the owl. I don't know how portable it is, if you have to physically mount it in one location, or you can bring it anywhere you want, but yeah.
It's actually really portable, and we share it with the library, and it's about this big, and it's so easy. So what I'd like to do, even when we're back in person, is to be able to make it all these meetings with the owl, so that if any member of our board, not able to attend a meeting but still wants to join us via Zoom, able to do that, just make it available.
Yeah, it's not like you're going to Hawaii again anytime soon, but you could have called in from Hawaii.
Correct. Absolutely.
I have two thoughts. I had to Google it. I didn't know what an owl was, but it's a 360-degree recording device with camera. Looks pretty neat. I think it's definitely technology worth investing in for all the reasons you just listed. But the second point I'd like to illustrate is that corporate world is not back yet in Boston. And so maybe there are some reservations about making the town world back in person when the corporate world in Boston is still very much shut down. Certain sectors have opened, but most workers are not back. So
it's a governor's call is what the town's going by. So
yeah.
Once a governor determines what municipal government should be doing, then the town's just going to follow that. And that's kind of where we are. If they're going to resume full meetings since starting in January, there's still going to be people that may want to opt out because they're still not secure. So I think they ought to get it. I really do. I am a big proponent of getting it, and it's not a huge expense that outweighs the value of the product.
Well, so the town does it has a really expensive, not the owl obviously, but that 500 or something. So they
Yeah.
do use that. They've used it for school committee meetings, and it's a larger, and it's not as easy to move around. We've actually had it, we use it for one of our programs, which is on Zoom, but we have people in person, and then they can interact with the Zoom person for the different educational learning that we have. And that's been working really well, but it really is it's kind of cumbersome, and we move it from the chart room when the town needs it for their school committee, and then we move it into the dining room for our programming needs. So it's not as easy as the owl, but it works just the same way pretty much. So I think that once they get used to that and know that it's really, it works, it makes everybody able to be seen, be heard. It's going to become just second nature. I think we're just kind of ahead of the curve by having it available to our groups here and our board in particular. So I'm excited about that for the future for us when he gives us the go ahead.
Yeah, I do. There should be no reason why they don't buy the owl and
I agree.
get it
And
going.
wouldn't our,
Yeah,
excuse me, wouldn't
I
our-
do.
our senior population, I mean, there may be some infirmed that may have access that they wouldn't have without it. I mean, it may be particularly useful for the Elder Affairs Department.
Well, absolutely. And that's
Yeah.
our goal, is to get any other, some of our instructors don't want to be on Zoom and be in person, but some of them it's going to work for. So we'll see. Like, for instance, Elaine, the poetry group that's coming on board, I'm thinking I want to make that available to them. I know that they before were meeting on Zoom, and now we're going to be meeting in person for the next one. But if some of those people don't want to come into the center, why not have, the hybrid option? So it's not only, there's so many different uses that we can have it for, and for so many people who over the course of 16 or 18 months who have been in the house, who are getting used to Zoom, who might be physically unable to come to the building. So I think it's really great for all of us.
So do I understand this correctly, Tana, that regardless of whether we have an owl or not, we are not in person until at least the new year?
Yes, that's the understanding.
Unless Chris Senior has a chance to review the owl and makes that decision. But my thought is he's going to lean towards after the December select board meeting, when the governor gives the okay, and that it's no longer having to meet on Zoom and it has to be in person.
However, some of our program is.
But all our programs are all
Makes sense.
set and ready to go right as of now, because we've been doing it with the men's group for weeks.
And exercise and poetry is coming up.
Yep.
So why not we? That doesn't make any sense.
Did they say
Well,
what
it's
type
not-
of cost
it's
it
open
was?
meeting.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Got it.
I'd be curious to know what the cost is. It's probably a monthly fee like Zoom as well.
No, we just outright and purchased it. So we went on it with the library, and I believe it was $1,100 altogether for the unit.
Oh, okay.
You have to have a Zoom account, but other than that, there's no monthly cost for it.
Okay. So that's something we could purchase for ourselves.
We have one.
We already have one.
We have
But
it.
we can't use it. We can't use it for public meetings.
Right.
Until Chris says okay, but
Yeah,
once he
yeah,
says
okay.
okay, we can use ours for our public meeting.
Right. He's probably worried that if he approves ours, he's gonna approve everybody's. Is probably the issue.
Oh, God forbid.
Yeah.
God forbid everyone should be able to meet.
Some committees have been working better remotely than they did in person.
Right. But anyway, that's what's been going on and what I've been stewing about, but this month. And I look forward to getting more involved with the Wellspring Food Program, because their outreach is a lot broader, of course, than ours is. And they're really nice folks to work with. Also looking forward to working with the swim center, and hopefully the Recs Commission is, it'll go it'll go okay for the town meeting for the pickle, the pickle game,
Pickleball.
pickleball. I kept wanting to say board. It's not pickleball game. So that's all I have. Go ahead, Eleanor.
No, the pickleball is just a different swing. That's what I was doing.
Oh,
Yeah, started my lessons last week.
I have a
Yeah,
question.
me too.
Did you?
It's great.
Donna, I have a question
sure.
about the new website, the new non-existent website.
Yeah.
I've been on the town's website again, and I see nothing
Nothing.
change much on there. I've talked to Richard. There seems to be no progress being made whatsoever. Nobody seems to even know about the idea of a separate URL and a website for the senior center. Has this thing been ignored long enough so that it's died?
I have
No.
a feeling.
I know. So what's happening is, if you notice around town, they're asking for pictures from the community members. So everybody, if you have a great picture of something going on in Cohasset, you can submit it in, and they will use that on the website. So they're starting to gather information, and like I had mentioned before, that it's the whole town is doing it, and many of the departments. We are on the list of getting our own URL, but right now they're getting the pictures. They're starting the big framework of the new town website, and then we're a subsidiary of that, so we are part of that, but it is moving forward. It's just very slowly, but it has not been forgotten, and it is going to be part of the plan. We still have, once we open it up, we've already gotten that URL, www.cohassetelders.com, so we'll be able to use that. Everything's going to go as planned, but we're working with the vendor, and we have to go through the town having to get their part first before we get ours.
Why am I not encouraged?
Anything else? Well, I don't know if you think I should or not, but I would like Chris Senior, but he doesn't seem to be around, or somebody to come down and attend the meetings on the OWL, and so that they can see.
You still have Kevin McCarthy. You still have Kevin McCarthy on the list of
I'm sorry?
on our liaison list on the meeting agenda. You still have Kevin McCarthy on there.
I know this never changed. I requested twice last year for the new ones. I didn't get anything, and so now all the new appointments, I assume, have been made, because those meetings are over, and I'm going to have to call and ask for a new list, but it wasn't.
Yeah, I don't know what the selectmen. You have Diane Kennedy and Kevin McCarthy. I don't know who the liaison is from the selectmen is anymore.
Well, Diane Kennedy was ours last year. Has she moved over? I don't know either, but I've asked.
Yeah.
So, okay. Any other questions? Anything anybody wants to look into for next month, or be kept apprised of for next month?
I just got to find out from Nancy and Jim. I looked at my records for the Thanksgiving dinner,
Oh,
and we had one full bird at 20 pounds and then 4 breast only at 6 pounds. So I don't know if you want to increase that this year or not. That was during COVID. That was the Thanksgiving grab and go.
So Jim, you and Dan have to decide if that's what, once we get a final count on the numbers, whether or not we need to, because Paul is generously going to get the turkeys for us again this year. So we just need to know exactly what you guys think he needs to
So
purchase.
when do you anticipate knowing what kind of numbers we're looking at?
We're probably, I think what we're going to do is put a cap on it. so we can have it indoors. I believe that's the final thing, that we're gonna put a cap so we can have it indoors and still stay socially distant. So I want to say we were gonna cap it at 70, but I'll have to double check that. So once I confirm that with you, then you could probably, because I'm sure we'll get the right up to the number that we decide on, and then you can tell whatever works for you.
Okay,
So Paul, somebody will let you know exactly once I give
Okay.
Jim and Dan the number that we're the maximum.
Got it.
Any other questions? Concerns? Okay. I suggest that we end the meeting, close this meeting.
I move to adjourn.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye,
Aye.
Aye.
aye, aye.
When is the next meeting?
First Monday.